is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. And it's spring training 2020, and it rolls on from Jupiter, Florida. We're at Roger Dean Stadium, and this afternoon it's the Minnesota Twins and the St. Louis Cardinals. And welcome to Cardinals baseball. That's Rick Horton. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us as we get you set for our first pitch. That first pitch will be delivered by Genesis Cabrera.
He's had a very good spring so far, Danny. He started to stand out last year when his curveball got better. He's got the plus 90s fastball, and he's left-handed. He's going to be facing the defending American League Central champion, Minnesota Twins.
You wonder about who's standing out in this camp. Dylan Carlson certainly would be one. He's in the lineup today. And how about Edmundo Sosa?
Well, you know he's my guy. He looks very different to me from a year ago. He looks stronger to me. Had a chance to chat with him today, and he feels that winter ball really helped him, and he does seem more confident and definitely more pop in his bat.
Well, two teams that won their divisions a year ago. Rocco Baldelli led the Minnesota Twins, and Mike Schilt for St. Louis, two good ones.
Very good managers. 10 of the 30 teams in 2020 have new managers, but these two guys in their first full season as Major League managers became the manager of the year.
All right, we're just about set to go. It's spring training baseball on your home of the Cardinals all season long, Fox Sports Midwest. It's the Minnesota Twins, the St. Louis Cardinals. A beautiful day here in Florida, and baseball comes your way next. St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. And by Shelter Insurance. For your auto, home, and life, wear your shield, wear your shelter. Along with Ricky Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Welcome to Roger Dean Stadium and St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. A beautiful day. The Twins and the Cardinals. And the starter today, the lefty going, Genesis Cabrera.
A couple of teams that popped champagne a season ago. Both teams Central Division champions, and Cabrera a part of that last year. And he showed very well towards the end, Dan, and I'm looking forward to trying to figure out as his career goes on, is he going to be better as a starter or as a reliever? You can make a case for either one.
So it's Cabrera going today against Minnesota. They're 4-3-3 this spring. The Cardinals are 3-6-1. Disappointing way to end the ball game yesterday, wasn't it?
Way too many walks in that last inning, and obviously it's not the way Mike Schilt would normally manage a ninth inning. Although maybe a little bit of a taste of what happens if you have to face three batters, though. What happens if a guy has control issues and you end up walking all three? We're going to have that happen before the season ends. But Mike did say before the game today, Dan, he's been very happy with the pitching. And even though there's some losses that got away late, with the normal guys, the guys that'll be there in April, he's very, very happy with what he's seen.
So great competition right now among the left-handed pitchers in this camp, and this is one of them. Genesis Cabrera. Luis Arraez at the plate, left-handed batter, second baseman. And there's the lineup today for the Minnesota Twins, a team that did not come over from Fort Myers with many of their regulars, and they are loaded in terms of their lineup going into 2020.
Yeah, and they're loaded for the future, too, and we're going to see three of those guys today. Larnach, Kirilloff, and Lewis are hitting back-to-back-to-back. They're their number 1, 2, and 3 prospects in the minor leagues. Rocco Baldelli, the American League Manager of the Year in 2019. What a job he did.
Very good player in his own right, too.
He sure was.
3-1 the count on Luis Arraez, batting .143 this spring. And he looks at his strike, and it's now a full count. Minnesota, 101 wins a year ago, and very good on the road. They actually were better on the road than they were at home, and that is a leadoff walk, and a couple of those pitches were awfully close to take, but Arraez takes it for a leadoff walk. Ray Adrianza, the switch hitter and third baseman today for Minnesota. I think Yachty thought he had a strikeout, and so did Cabrera.
Adrianza figures to be a utility player for, as you say, a stacked regular lineup. Again, most of those guys not here. Arraez will be the second baseman, most probably. He's the man on first, but you're talking about an infield of Sano moving from third to first because they signed Josh Donaldson to play third.
As if they needed more power and
That's
thump.
right. And Jorge Polanco, the shortstop, well, he only hit 22 home runs.
Only.
That's it. And with an outfield of Byron Buxton, you've got Nelson Cruz as your DH, who hit over 40. Max Kepler in right and Eddie Rosario in left. That's 5 players that had 30 or more home runs last year will be in the lineup.
In the air out to deep left field. Backing up, Dylan Carlson at the wall and shading with the glove from the sun, makes the catch. And Dylan is just doing every little thing right in this camp, even a play like that.
Well, he did all the right things fundamentally with his glove. He's shading from the sun. He didn't lose it. And we've seen a couple of balls lost in left field because of the sun and the sky here in spring training. Guys are just not quite used to it yet. And we've seen a few balls drop where the outfielders literally never saw the ball. And so using his glove to shield the sun perfectly, and he didn't panic either. Got a nice kind of route to that ball, and he has been standing out on both the offensive side and the defensive side.
He is mature beyond his years. He's very calm and collected in all facets of this camp. How he carries himself, plays like that. He's had a couple of diving plays in right field. He's played all 3 outfield positions in this camp as well. And all he's done is hit, too.
I find it funny in this game that, we always talk about letting a player be himself. And I think both these managers have been very good at doing that. Mike Shildt and Rocco Baldelli, their players will say they let us be ourselves, which I think is important. But the reality is what you said about Dylan Carlson, calm, cool, and collected, is the way I might describe most really good players in this game. So we want them to be emotional, but maybe that's not how they're wired.
Not for everyone.
No, it's not for, and I'm not saying he doesn't have any emotion, but he is just playing like he belongs.
Alex Avila, the catcher, looking for his first hit this spring. Runner at first and 1 away. Good fastball again by Cabrera. He can get it up there mid to high 90s.
That one did not register, and perhaps it was just too fast.
Just a blink of an eye. Boom, there it is.
They could at least put a lot.
Or good luck.
Yeah, right.
Well, when you evaluate, Ricky, and you're a former pitching coach in professional baseball, obviously played at this level, when you evaluate whether a pitcher should be a reliever or a starter, what do you look at?
Well, if you're going to be a starter, the thing I look at is, do you have 3 pitches, not 2? And I mean 3+ pitches. Not do you have them. Can you command 3 pitches? If you're going to start a game and you're going to throw 100 pitches, very difficult to survive if you only have 2. And that involves having a good changeup. Cabrera has that. Ooh. Not sure where that was either. Cabrera has the velocity, the break, the changeup. Yeah, he's just not getting the call. That's clearly a strike.
Second one that's been on that corner that he's not gotten the call. It's David Rackley behind the plate. And Jerry Meals is here, Angel Hernandez, and Greg Gibson.
And the reliever has the 2 pitches that are plus pitches. They're just swing and miss pitches, most probably. But it's also a mentality difference, Dan, between a starter and a reliever.
From 0-2 to 2-2. Curveball swung on and missed. A beauty. First strikeout for Cabrera, and the batter will be Lamont Wade.
There's the breaking ball we talked about. Sharp break, and that's kind of the classic Genesis Cabrera celebration pose after a strikeout. And we saw some of that yesterday, didn't we?
We did. Junior Fernandez comes to mind.
Mike Shildt was asked about that this morning, and he said, I liked it. There was some gamesmanship going on for those who saw the game between the pitcher and hitter stepping out of the box.
And now he gets the call on that pitch. Well, I don't know if you noticed, Yachty had a few words with the home plate umpire, but did it in the right way. Didn't show him up, just a little conversation, and I'm sure it was like,
there it is.
Hey, I think it's a strike. What are you seeing? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this time he gets it. The 0-1 pitch. And that's how a catcher can help a pitcher. I mean, there's many ways you can do it, but that's one of the ways you can help out your pitcher.
Probably more intangibles about the position of being a big league catcher than any other position. A lot of intangibles, ways you help the team. blocking balls, throwing out runners. Those are some of the obvious things. But what you just said, such a help to the pitcher.
Off the end of the bat into shallow center. Bader won't get there. And he'll fire to third. It's not cut off. It's into third base at Carpenter. And in there safely is Arise.
He almost came off the bag, too.
Well, if we had replay, I wonder if he did, and Carpenter was holding that tag, if we'd find that out. But no replay here in spring training.
Well, you've been talking about fundamentals, and here's the base hit the other way by Wade. But this is a fundamentally sound throw because it's low enough for Tommy Edman to cut it off. Ooh, I don't know. And the throw being low, the runner can't advance from first to second.
Here's a Larnach, and he takes a breaking ball in there for a strike.
Larnach is the #1 power prospect in the Twins minor league system.
And they hit 307 home runs, #1 in baseball a year ago. That's inside.
#1 all time.
Ricky, in batting, they were a team that hit at a 270 clip. First in total bases, second in slugging percentage, fifth in on base percentage, second in OPS, second in runs. I mean, it was just an offensive juggernaut.
And add Josh Donaldson to that.
Yep. Well, clearly he's not getting that outside corner with these left-handed batters. Cardinals thought so highly of Cabrera last year. Remember, he was on the postseason roster for St. Louis. Very important role down the stretch coming out of the bullpen. The 2-1 pitch, curveball, lifted in the air to center field. Harrison Bader under it. The Twins strand a pair. It'll be Edman, Molina, Carpenter coming up in the home half of the first. The Cardinals starting lineup today. Tommy Edman, who's at short, then Molina and Carpenter, O'Neill, Fowler, Ravello, Carlson, Bader, and Sosa. Devin Smeltzer, left-handed pitcher, 6 starts a year ago.
He's in line to be one of the starters potentially. He's battling for that 5th spot in a rotation that includes Jake Odorizzi, Homer Bailey, Jose Barrios, and Kenta Maeda, the Dodgers.
Switch hitting, Tommy Edman. Couple of hits yesterday. Edman undoubtedly one of the most valuable Cardinals last season. Played in only 92 games, but had the 3rd best WAR in all of baseball with fewer than 100 games played. How about that? Plus defender in multiple spots and was finding time and again a way to get on base. Such a valuable, commodity for the Cardinals.
Did a lot of things right. Ran the bases well, played defense well, had timely hits, had pop every once in a while. Loved him getting triples. I mean, that triples have become very hard to find in baseball now, but he's a gap power guy, and he's going to get a few before it's over.
1-2 the count.
And Tommy, of course, got married in the offseason.
He actually had to move the date because the Cardinals got into postseason play, and he found himself in the big leagues. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Tommy Edman. Ground ball to third. 1 away. Well, how about this staff of Minnesota? You like that too, to complement their offense?
Yeah, and their bullpen's going to be good too. Barrios may not be a household name in National League cities, but he was a 14-game winner last year for Minnesota, and Jake Odorizzi probably is a name that St. Louis area people know because he grew up in Highland, Illinois. So you've got, and he was a 15-game winner. So they've got a pretty solid staff with, again, Maeda. Michael Pineda is on the suspended list, so he's not part of the rotation. And Rich Hill, they also signed him as a free agent, but he is recovering from surgery, so it'll take him a while to be ready. So, again, the 5th spot is open for a guy like Smeltzer pitching today.
Molina hitting .214 this spring. Nothing into the count with 1 out and nobody on.
Smeltzer pitched in at San Jacinto Junior College, which is a name that keeps coming up in terms of pitchers. And again, Woody Williams, former Cardinal, is the pitching coach there.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. The defense for Minnesota: Kirilloff, Celestino, and Wade in the outfield. Adrianza, Lewis, Arise, Telis. Along the infield, Avila behind the plate.
You did a great job with those names, Dan. I am stunned.
Can we mix in a Smith? Or a Jones, please?
We had a Joe Smith pitching yesterday, and Trevor Jones was playing first. What more do you want?
Oh, man.
Taylor Jones, excuse me.
There's a base hit to right for Yachty with, what else? 2 strikes, puts the ball in play. Still doing it.
Very Yachty-like at bat. Hey, you know, he's still doing it at full bore, too. Mike Schilt talking about Yachty this morning and saying how, you know, you could respect a guy like Yachty or Molina coming to spring training and coasting a little bit in spring training, thinking, okay, it's a long year, and you wouldn't even mind if he did, but Yachty that can't do that. Everything's at 100% for him.
Here's Matt Carpenter. Last handful of days was out of the lineup dealing with a sore back, and the Cardinals being really cautious with that, held him out. Thought about playing him yesterday, and he's in the lineup today.
And speaking of cautious, KK was supposed to start today, Kim, for St. Louis, and he has a very, I think there were 3 varies in it from Mike Schilt. Slight, it was also included, a groin issue that he's dealing with. And the trainers alerted him to it and said, I don't really think it's anything, but let's just hold him back anyway. So he's actually throwing a bullpen today, and he'll start on Thursday. He originally, again, going to be the pitcher today, but Cabrera getting the opportunity.
Carpenter, the idea for him, at least in the early going, we've seen it by design, taking a lot of balls to left field, whether it's on the backfields, the cages, batting practice. And his first plate appearance of the spring hit a bullet to left. And it's just, that's got to feel good. I know it's early. He's been around forever, but that's what he's trying to do.
The 2-strike shift on Carpenter. Not a real severe shift until 2 strikes. Maybe they've been watching him take BP.
Here's a 1-2 pitch to Carpenter. Stays away. 2-2.
Boy, that's the pitch you really have to keep your front shoulder in and not try to pull. The slider down and away to a lefty. If you're trying to pull that, forget it. It's a ground out, and Carpenter doesn't ground out very often, but it probably just a lazy fly ball to left. You have to stay on it, front shoulder, drive it the other way.
Little check swing. Smeltzer will flip it over to first for the out, and the batter will be Tyler O'Neill. Now, Dylan Carlson has gotten a ton of the attention in this camp, rightfully so, but the other outfielders, not to say they're putting up the same numbers, but man, they're playing well too.
I asked Tyler O'Neill about this at the batting cage. Said, you know, you're a little under the radar, and he said, I'm okay with that.
I bet.
He said, but I do recognize what the Cardinals have done by not re-signing Ozuna, the opportunity they're giving me to win left field, and I'm trying to take advantage of it. A couple of home runs this spring. He is having a very good spring.
Told him taken inside for ball 1.
Told him that we were talking about how short his swing was, and he said, you know, I feel like I've always had a short swing, but there's still just times that I've chased too much, and I'm really working on mentally, you know, staying focused on making sure I'm hitting the right pitch. Really the same language Paul DeYoung's using.
Pitch selection, man.
Right.
Here's a 1-0. 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, at any point in time, he can unload. That's the kind of scary power that he has.
And he's really working on fueling himself properly with his exercise regimen, his diet. Lost 8 to 10 pounds from last year, but still strong as an ox.
That pitch taken high. 2 balls and 1 strike.
He's leaner, but we both agreed he could still take me.
Let's just say us combined. Tag team.
Right. I think that's right.
He is something else. The 2-1 pitch. Well, Ricky, it'll be 3 weeks from today, and the Cardinals will be in Texas playing an exhibition game.
Oh, boy.
And 3 weeks from this Thursday, we'll be in Cincinnati. It's a coming.
It really flies at some point during spring training, doesn't it?
It does. 3-1 pitch. Base hit into left. Here comes Yachty. Kirilloff, his throw from left field is offline, and O'Neill takes advantage of that, winds up at second, and it's 1-0 Cardinals, and the fine spring of Tyler O'Neill continues.
I give Pop Warner some credit here. Of course, the first credit goes to Tyler O'Neill for smoking a ball to left field, but Pop could tell that the left fielder did not have the right route to get that ball, not a real clean route to get it. It sent Yachty from second base. He had a high throw, not nearly in time to get him, and I'm sure there's some scouting there, too, on the strength of the arm of Kirilloff, which was average at best.
So O'Neill, with his third run batted in, he's had a pair of solo home runs, and now that 2-out RBI single. Here's Dexter Fowler.
One more look at the swing of Tyler O'Neill. Not a very complicated movement. Stays back on his front side. Short swing. Right on the money.
The 1-0 pitch to Dexter Fowler. So the Cardinals will play that Monday. Open up the new ballpark in Texas in an exhibition. Then Tuesday and Wednesday, get ready for Thursday. One of those days is a mandatory off day. They'll have a workout at the Great American Ballpark, and then away we go. The journey that is a Major League season. Can't wait.
The marathon begins.
Yes, sir. 2 strikes on Dexter Fowler.
You know, we use that every year, that phrase. And I think the reason we use it, the baseball season being like a marathon, is because it's true. I mean, it really fits that kind of mentality of just competing for a very long time to end up winning at the end, and all the kind of stops and starts, and you know, the sprints you do for a while, then you have to kind of lay back, and all those things that go on in a marathon, including some rest to get some water along the way. I mean, it's all part of the mental reality of what a baseball season is.
Guys get hurt. Guys go in good runs, bad runs. There's the potential of trades, the ups and downs. Sharp breaking ball, and it does not go Smeltzer's way. That'll catch your attention, that Uncle Charlie right there.
I think it may have surprised our home plate umpire.
I would agree. The 2-2. Got it again, and Fowler lines it into the camera well. Well, I give Ali Marmol, as I look down in that dugout and see so many players, Ali has done a tremendous job of keeping this organized, quick, and efficient.
Yeah.
This camp has not been easy.
Caught up with him today, too, and he's just always so positive about it, though. You know, talked to him about the challenge of doing that, and there were no complaints. There's no, it's terrible. It's just, hey, that's what it is. We got 7. They actually have one more player now because Kramer Robertson has joined.
Well, we needed one more, you know.
Yeah, so make it 72 because of Munoz going down with the hamstring. They wanted a little backup there, and that's a lot of people to get ready.
Full count delivery to Fowler. And he hits it down the left field line, but foul. I was talking with John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations today, and he said Munoz, you know, those are tough injuries, so he will not be around for opening day.
No.
And in terms of Miles Michaelis, he said he had spoken to Miles this morning, got good news. Miles is feeling much, much better. Now, he's not amping it up and throwing 100%. We'll see what happens, but that's good news. 3-2 again. Strikeout of Fowler. Inning started with a ground out off the bat of Edmund. Then Molina the single. Carpenter bounce back to the pitcher. And Tyler O'Neill. Drives in Yachty. 1-0 after one. Genesis Cabrera back to work. 1-0 Cardinals here in the top of the second. Alex Kirilloff. Is an 800 average good, Ricky?
Yes.
That's what this young man is doing.
No, it's really good.
Okay. Just had to check.
Yeah, no, it's...
That part hasn't changed about the game.
No.
All right. So 800 with a home run and, let's see, 3 runs batted in. That's a pretty good spring so far.
Now, if it was 8 for 10 instead of 4 for 5, I'd even be more impressed.
Mm-hmm. But you look up and you're hitting
80 for 100.
I don't care. You look up and they say you're hitting 800. I'm taking it. Inside, and it's 2-1. Let's say the strike zone is jumping around a bit on both sides.
I would agree.
Three and 1 the count. Where crosses the plate. And that's pulled foul. 3-2.
Would say he seems to be struggling. Of course, it's spring training for our umpires too. But I would say the breaking ball he's really struggling with. He's missed a couple fastballs, I think, too, on the outside corner. But breaking ball, Twins lefty missed one, and I know he's missed a couple with Cabrera. Not
and
that one.
Pitch is taken high, and that's the second walk. Well, see the game like an MVP with Cardinals all-inclusive tickets. Choose from the UMB Champions Club, National Car Rental Club, Proficient Red Jacket Club, and more. Get yours at cardinals.com/all-inclusive. And want to remind folks that for opening day, it is not sold out. I know a lot of people believe that, well, I won't be able to get to opening day. They've sold them all out. Not a ticket to be had. That's not the case. We have tickets available at cardinals.com and the home opener. That's ball 1 to Royce Lewis.
Some great weekend dates available too. So just go to cardinals.com and check out the ticket opportunities. And you know, you make that assumption sometimes, Dan. You make 2 assumptions. One, they're sold out, and number 2, they're unaffordable. But you can find some great deals. And again, go to cardinals.com and get in the ballpark and have a great day.
This is not good, as the medical team of the Cardinals wants to have a chat here with Cabrera. And it's his finger they're looking at, and many times
blister.
It's blister issues. Mike Maddox out there as well.
If it's a blister, I'd say, whew.
Agreed.
Threw the pitch and has a reaction of some sort, and maybe even actually said something that the infielders heard, and then they're going in to check on it, and he's coming out.
So that'll be it for Genesis Cabrera. And again, Kim was supposed to start today. And we'll step aside. We'll have a pitching change when we come back. Ricky, I think fans get curious about how this develops. The blister with a pitcher, and it can be really bad. I mean, it can be to the point it affects your career. What happens here?
Well, they're going to take a look at it first, and here he is showing that it looks like there's either a raised nail or a blister forming on the outside of his finger there. And what happens is it's really the friction caused mostly by the seam of the baseball. And if you're going to throw a curveball, you want to have your finger right on that seam and create as much torque and tension as you can to throw, whether it's a changeup or a curveball or a slider or even a fastball. If you're holding a 2-seamer and you want some movement, you're trying to get the seams to make the ball dance a little bit. So you're pulling down on those seams, and it can get a little raw, and there are things you can do to help prevent that. There's substances you can put on. You can harden your nails, which several players will do. You just put a little extra clear polish on there or something to harden your nail. And in spring training, you're not used to throwing as much as you do. You come down here, different weather, you start throwing, and it's one of the nicks and dents and bruises that Mike Shildt was talking about today that tend to surface in early March in spring training. And we've seen a couple of them the last 2 days, back issues with Miller and Matt Carpenter, Jairo Munoz with the pulled hamstring, and now a blister with Genesis Cabrera.
The Cardinals last year had pretty good health, and that is so important over the long season.
Yes.
43 players used total, fewest in the major leagues. League average was around 50. 23 pitchers used, the fewest in the majors. League average was around 28. So they enjoyed good health a year ago.
Well, what every general manager would say, every manager would say is you want your players to perform at or above their career numbers. One of the ways you win is you have players that exceed expectations. You look at the Cardinals last year, you'd say, well, Paul DeJong was an all-star. Maybe that's exceeding expectations a little bit. Colton Wong had better than his average year. Tommy Edman came out of nowhere and had way above that. Jack Flaherty went from a really good pitcher to maybe one of the National League's best. And so you have players that outkick their coverage, you might say. But the other thing is that you're healthy. What good is a player that's playing well that doesn't make it onto the field? And part of a player's value, Dan, is being ready day in and day out. Tyler O'Neill and I talked about this today. And he said, I'm tired of being the guy that's hurt. And I want to do what I can do to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. Now, you can't control it fully, but I'm sure this has Mike Maddox thinking, okay, what does that mean for the rest of my week? I mean, I tell you, you plan out your week as far as pitchers, and then you have to replan your week. And he's in that mode right now.
So Ramirez getting all the time that he needs. He says he's ready to go. And now we'll get a look at the top prospect in the Twins organization in his second spring. Royce Lewis enters this year, #1 in their system, 4th best shortstop, 9th best prospect overall in all of baseball, according to MLB.com.
Very high on Lewis. He's been their #1 prospect the last couple of years. And, you know, the number's not great for him last year, but he's a can't-miss guy.
There was an article written by Keith Law, who does a lot of the rankings of the minor league systems in baseball for The Athletic. And Keith put the Cardinals system in the top 10. They have not been in the top 10 in a while.
#9, just behind the Miami Marlins, who we know, and we've had conversations about how good their system is.
Well, we asked Tom Lawless the other day, how good is it? He said, boy, they got some pitching and players coming.
Absolutely. I believe the Dodgers were 1 or 2. Tampa Bay was 1. I read that article as well. Tampa Bay 1, the Dodgers #2.
So the pitch by Ramirez to Royce Lewis is taken inside.
Did you notice who was #30? Did you happen to look at that? The Milwaukee Brewers were rated the lowest in terms of their minor league prospects.
Isn't it something, though, that you talk about the Cardinals and the Marlins being, you know, right there with each other? The Marlins gutted their system, and the Cardinals continue to win in this 20-year period, and yet they're in the top 10 in baseball with their minor league system. I mean, that's Gary LaRocque. That's drafting correctly by Randy Flores and developing.
It's the both and philosophy that the Cardinals have. We want to win and develop. I mean, so you're developing minor league guys, and you're not just getting rid of all of them to win at all costs at the big leagues. I mean, there could have been some deals that were made in the offseason where you get players that we've heard of, and you give up 4 of your 5 best prospects, and now you're gutted again. That's the downside.
The 2-2 is hit a ton down the left field line. Plenty far, but yanked foul.
They all think it's a home run. They're still trotting.
Well,
he's saying foul, and they're trotting.
Yeah, the third base umpire.
You don't get to do that. I mean, honestly.
Called it foul.
That was funny to watch. They're still running. Everybody's saying it's foul, and Lewis thought it was fair.
What did you think? I thought it was foul, didn't you?
I thought it was foul, too, but, you know, we always see with our heart a little, Danny. Actually, he hit it so hard I couldn't tell.
Well, he hit that a ton, didn't he?
He did.
But you know what that is? Come on, being a pitcher?
It's a strike.
It's a strike.
Here it is, strike. That's all that is. Well, he hit it hard enough to watch it, but it disappeared. Yeah, it was foul. I don't think it was foul. I didn't quite see where it went, but
there's a crosswind here at the ballpark from right field to left, so that pulled a foul as well. And the next pitch. And that's foul.
What have I got to do? My goodness. And here he is. This is what we're talking about. They're going to score. They're going to get a 2-run home run no matter what the umpire said. And Ramirez is saying, wait a minute. It's foul. And by that point, Lewis was already past second base in his home run trot.
Takes me back to one of my favorite moments with replay and Jason Worth at the ballpark.
Kyle Loesch.
Against Kyle Loesch. Had to fake as if he was swinging and then started trotting the bases, as there was confusion as to whether or not it was a home run. Worth at the plate and Loesch on the mound.
Funny moment.
Was not Jason Worth. I just thought it was Michael Morse.
Michael Morse.
Yes.
I had it trying to figure out in my mind who it was.
That's who it was. That was funny.
Oh my goodness.
Not funny for Loesch.
No, but he went along with it,
He
though.
did.
I mean, so the point was, because of replay, they literally had to run it out. So they were already done with the pitch, and it was so new at the time, Dan. Nobody knew, well, wait a minute, this is weird. What do we do? So Loesch pretended to throw a pitch again. He pretended to hit a home run, and he ran around the bases.
Oh,
We'd
man.
never seen that.
Nope. 3-2 pitch. Tapped foul.
Just saying, Dan, when you tinker with the rules of baseball, there are always unintended consequences. Because the game, as Rick Ankiel said yesterday so well, the game peels back multiple layers. And there's just a lot of twists and turns and what can happen in a baseball game, which I think is part of its charm.
3-2 the count on Royce Lewis. Tomas Talis on deck. Kirilloff is running, swung on and missed. Throw by Yachty. Goodbye. It's a double play. 38. New year. Same old Yachty.
That's a tough at-bat for Lewis. Almost had a homer, almost had a double. And yet he ends up with a strikeout. And I think he got a piece of that, too. He was talking to the umpire about it. There's a tag at second. Sosa staying with it. Yachty doing what he does.
Tomas Talis, switch hitter. So back to the conversation about Yachty with Tim McCarver, who now, he said 6 years ago, I wasn't sure he's a Hall of Famer. Now he's a Hall of Famer. It said as he continues to play, that longevity will add to that resume. But he said the thing that impresses him more than anything is his throwing arm and his ability to continue to throw at a high level. And he says as a catcher, that seems to be, in his experience, the first to go. And then that allows him the good footwork that he has behind the plate, too. Found it very interesting.
Still quick.
Yeah.
He's not kind of a lumbering old catcher, is he?
No, sir.
In fact, he's in great shape. You can hardly tell a difference, I mean, honestly, skill-wise, between a young Yadier Molina in his prime and where he is now.
A lot of innings behind that plate for Yadier Molina. He will go into 4th place in games played in Cardinals history, probably right around the first week of the regular season. And he'll move past Ozzie Smith. And the only two in front of them will be Lou Brock and then Stan the man.
Then you're getting into statue territory.
He's 3 games away from tying Tony Pena for 6th all-time in games caught regular season, 79 games shy of Jason Kendall to crack top 5 all-time.
I think Tim would agree with the name that you just said, Tony Pena, as a guy that also maintained his arm for a long period of time.
Out to center, Bader. Roel Ramirez gets the strikeout, double play, throw him out, and Talis the fly out to center. Rangel Ravello, Dylan Carlson, and Harrison Bader for the Cardinals in their half of this second inning. 1-0 St. Louis. Ravello, Rick, has had a quietly solid, nice spring. They've had him all over the field. He can hit. He's done that. He's batting .267, but he's just played a solid game.
Met one of our international scouts today who covered the Dominican Republic. In fact, he worked for Águilas, and another Águilas reference on our broadcast, and that's where Ravello and Sosa played this offseason. He said Ravello was our best hitter, hands down. He said he can flat out hit. And I think in many ways we've equated him to being the kind of the Jose Martinez replacement. Guy that may not necessarily be your best fielder, although he made a nice play yesterday on a ball over his head and left. But just has a good idea at the plate.
0-2 the count. Cardinals have a left-hander up and throwing. That is Andrew Miller.
We should see Miller, Brett Cecil, another lefty, and John Brebbia. And we may see more than that here this afternoon.
I think it's apropos to have Brebbia throwing with the lefties. He might as well be left-handed.
I think he's got a little, yeah.
Ravello hits it out to right center, and that ball will get down. He's on his way to second base, and he'll stop there. Standing up, leadoff double for Ravello.
Did I say he could hit?
You did.
Well, this is what hitters do. They take the ball where it's pitched, up and away, drives it into right center field. Yeah, that's good opposite field power. Nice attempt in center by Celestino.
Switch hitting Dylan Carlson. Hitting .500 with an on-base percentage of over .800.
And 800's good for on-base percentage also.
Got it. There was a situation like this the other day where Dylan Carlson was at the plate after a leadoff double by Wong. Hit a ground ball to the right side. Runner advanced to third. Fly ball to center. That was by DeYoung, and they had a 1-0 lead. He has done the little things.
Sure has. Do his hands remind you at all from the right side of Lance Berkman?
Yeah.
A slightly different stance from the right side than the left. His hands a little closer to his body. And it seems to me that's kind of a picture that reminds me of Berkman, who, by the way, he met at the cage today.
Lance had been working with Matt Carpenter in the offseason. The 0-2 pitch to Dylan Carlson. Pulled left side. Backhanded down at third. And safe at first. Getting down the line. And Ravello advancing to third.
Smart base running by Ravello. I mean, that is just smart base running. There's nobody out. You want to get to third so you can get into scoring position. With the ball hit down the line, that's such a long throw by the third baseman. You've got time to go from second to third. And you also know that the third baseman has no time to check on you because he's got to get rid of it quickly. So that was just a smart defense or offensive play on the bases on the error by the third baseman.
Harrison Bader with runners at first and third. This is an area of his game that has to improve this year. Runner at third, less than 2 outs. Genesis Cabrera, the starter for the Cardinals, we get word, left the game with a cracked fingernail.
Did crack his nail.
So that's why his day was cut short. Carlson, a threat to steal. He's at first base. And it's 0-2.
You remember Pat Perry, a left-handed reliever for the Cardinals. Really good numbers in the Cardinals bullpen. I was in the bullpen with him several years, and he would split his middle finger nail from the side straight across regularly from throwing his changeup.
And a strikeout of Bader.
So that's the news on Cabrera. It's a cracked nail, and I can hear football players everywhere saying, oh, we play with broken forearms, and you can't play with a bad nail.
So you've got a cracked nail. Well, come over and see my cracked ribs.
Exactly. And while there's some truth to that, the point is you literally can't throw the ball.
Right.
And it just, you can't do what you need to do to be successful in that kind of a sport. It's just a different sport. It's not about toughness. It's about, can you perform?
And we don't know the severity of the crack, but how long does that typically take to get back?
That's a good question.
Here's Edmundo Sosa.
How often do I clip my nails? But, you know, it's a while. I mean, and again, they'll put some, I used to use it, and I can't remember the name of the stuff. You just pour it on there, a nail hardening solution that would make your nail hard as a rock. That's part of what you need to do to avoid it. But my guess is this just came out of the blue for him, and here it is. He throws that pitch high and away, and he must have said something, because both the third baseman, Carpenter, and Ravello came right to him and could tell he did something that wasn't right.
1 ball, 1 strike on Edmundo Sosa. And he did go 1-2. Tommy Edman on deck. Sosa at second base, can play short, can play third, and play it at a high level defensively. Check on Dylan Carlson. Inning started with a double by Ravello. Carlson reaching on an error. Bader a strikeout, and now 1 ball, 2 strikes on Sosa. Foul back. Cardinals were a team that completely changed their base running a year ago. It made a huge difference for them offensively. As Sosa hits it in the air to shallow right. Wade with the catch. Runner tagging and scoring. That's Ravello. And Carlson back to the bag at first. It's 2-0. Wind was kind of playing tricks on that. You could see that Lamont Wade never got in a great position to make that throw.
And very similar to how the Cardinals scored their first run. An outfielder who was moving laterally instead of towards home plate and not really able to get enough on the throw. And again, it's Pop Warner recognizing that. Ravello not the fastest of Cardinals, but I think Pop Warner knew he would be able to score when he saw Wade drift to his right. Again, peeling back the onion, Dan, so many things come into play in this game, and, you know, things that video doesn't help with.
That's in the gap in left center. Carlson flying around second. Pop Warner waving him in. Edman will stop at second base. 2-out double. Drives in Carlson all the way from first, and it's 3-0 St. Louis.
Hard contact left center. Tommy Edman. Good at bat. And we talked about how we're going to see a lot of triples from Edman, but we enjoyed watching Dylan Carlson run the bases.
And the batter is Yadier Molina. Singled and scored back in the first inning. 2 of the 3 runs have come with 2 outs in this game for St. Louis.
Carlson, again, Dan, just looks like he belongs.
Well, he's making the decision for the Cardinals awfully tough.
Yeah, he is.
Cardinals, you know, looking at the future of Dylan Carlson long term, probably a corner outfielder leaning towards right, because they feel he will develop even more power as he grows into his body and have a power hitting right fielder.
If you're a good outfielder with a good arm, I'd rather you be in right than left. I don't think center's out of the question.
Certainly not early in his career, I wouldn't think. And he's shown he can play all 3 spots down here in spring training. But that's the thing. I mean, he's having just a ridiculous camp. O'Neill a good start. They're happy with Lane Thomas.
Yeah.
So the competition is very good. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Yadier Molina. Base hit into right field. Edman will score as Yadi delivers with a 2-out hit. 4-0 St. Louis.
That's Yadi making it look easy again by going the other way. Classic Yadier Molina afternoon here. A couple of base hits the other way.
Again, I don't know why teams don't play him straight up.
Yeah, well, they're giving him that, and he's just going to take it. I mean, to me, you're making, honestly, with Yadi's at the plate or somebody that can do it, you are making the pitcher's job harder. And pitchers tend to think, well, I can't only use one side of the plate when the shift is on, which is disastrous for a pitcher. I mean, disastrous, because now you're thinking, well, I can't throw a ball away ever. Now, it doesn't matter for Yadi whether it's away or not. He'll inside out it the other way. But the point is, you're making the pitcher throw to one side of the plate. Pitching's tough enough, Dan, without being able to use both sides.
In steps Carpenter. Bounce back to the pitcher. First time up. Runner at first, Yadier Molina. Wind is picked up here at the ballpark, and Carpenter lifts a fly ball to left. Kirilloff under it and makes the catch. Yadier Molina 2 for 2 today with a run scored and now an RBI. Well, that's a look at Andrew Miller. We thought that he would be coming into the ball game. He stopped warming up and in the bullpen. So Roel Ramirez is back out there, and there's Mike Schilt, Mike Maddox, medical team having a conversation. Stubby clap, and they're being very, very, and I mean very conservative with Andrew Miller here in spring.
Mike Schilt was praising the players that came to him because he's been imploring them to say, look, at spring training, we don't want you to be a hero. And there's a difference between, yeah, I can go if you need me. Well, needing me and spring training are two different things, right? I mean, the idea is to get ready for opening day, and it may be that we're not going to see Andrew Miller in this game either. And so Cabrera goes out early. Again, we had Miller and Carpenter have issues with their back. But Mike Schilt did more to praise his players, and he says, my messaging to them right now is, if there's any, I mean the slightest question about you being 100%, let's just save it and play later. And now, that's his messaging. That's obviously being heard by the players.
And Kim was supposed to start today.
Right.
And they're being very cautious with him as well. That's a curveball that drops in for a strike. Gilberto Celestino at the plate.
Now, you had the slight headache early on, and we talked about this, Dan. If you can't go, I mean, honestly, I mean, we'll make it work. We'll figure it out. But
I can go.
Now you said
I can
no.
leave?
You said, look, I'm a gamer. You know, I'm gonna show up and get her done.
We're getting her done. I didn't have a headache, though. I can't make one up. I feel pretty good. Strikeout of Celestino.
Maybe you were giving me a headache. I'm trying to
That's
remember.
what it was.
That's what it was.
That's
now
what
I
it was.
remember.
Thanks a lot.
I knew there was a headache involved in that somehow.
Luis Arise walked back in the first, left stranded. Adrianza is on deck. Ricky, before you hear the do-do-do-do-do-do-do, and we come on the air, I have been on the floor in Cincinnati.
Yes,
and said
I know.
To the folks around us, until that hits, do not touch me. But I will make it. I'll get through it.
I've seen you do your Lazarus impersonation several times.
Hey, you gotta get
even
through
at
it.
home, I'm doing games with you. I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting ready to go through the starting lineup here. No Dan, okay. And there he arises with Arise at the plate.
Hey, this is a very nice play on words. It's a big leagues, man.
That's right.
It's my second big leagues, man, moment.
Game time is on time.
You got it. Popped up into
sometimes it is
left field. Carlson over, and that carries near that sidewall, and Dillon almost came up with it. That's the thing about these fly balls in spring. Boy, you can't give up on them. They're tough plays. That one, the wind just carried it over on that sidewall.
Do you think Mike Schilt was hoping that he would catch it or that he wouldn't get hurt?
He'll take the foul ball.
Exactly.
Don't get hurt, young man.
Let it alone. Let it alone.
Nothing in 2, the count. Applauding the effort, Yadier Molina. Nothing in 2, the count.
I will say, Schulte talking about that the other day, too. He said, look, guys are going to get hurt because you play the game. It happens. And we don't want guys to be playing scared. And so I think he really does applaud that effort as well of Carlson down the left field line, and you put another check mark next to him in terms of being a player.
2-2. Cardinals with a lefty getting loose in their bullpen. Speaking of lefties, tell you what, Austin Gomber was sensational yesterday.
How about that curveball? That's Krasinski.
The 2-2 hit out of play. Well, the two things that have stood out for me in this camp, and we get asked all the time by folks back home in St. Louis, one would be the pitching that the Cardinals have going into this season. It's really good. And depth. They've got that with their pitching. And the other thing, the young players that we talked about earlier, I mean, they've got some really good young talent coming through. 2-2 pitch.
Sosa, Gorman,
Dylan Carlson.
Thought this hit him. Nope.
A 3-2 pitch. Back to Ramirez. Out number 2. And the batter will be Adrianza, who flied to left. Well, the weather down here in Florida has been a little cooler than in years past. We've had some hot days, but for the most part, pleasant and very, very windy, which is what you can get at this time of year in Florida. Ravello moving closer to the line at first, and there's strike 1. You're starting to get into that time in spring, too, where these pitchers will go a little deeper into games, 3, 4. And that's whacked into right field. Fowler is over and makes the catch. And guys also staying in the lineup a little bit longer. O'Neill, Fowler, Ravello, all coming out. The 2020 season packed with great promotions and feature replica jersey giveaways, including Goldschmidt jerseys, an adult 1944 jersey, Players Weekend alumni jersey, and more. Get tickets to 6 of these great giveaway dates through the 10-game jersey pack. Buy them as a single game ticket, on sale now at Cardinals.com. And a reminder that opening day tickets are still available for you at Cardinals.com.
There's the attempt that we had last inning. Dylan Carlson trying to climb the wall, and everybody making sure he's fine. And you get a little coaching on top of that.
Here's Tyler O'Neill. Singled on a 3-1 pitch with 2 outs back in the first and drove in a run. And looks at strike 1. Casey Lawrence spent last season in Japan and trying to provide some depth for Minnesota and their staff. 0-2 on Tyler O'Neill. That's foul down the left field line. To your point about Tyler O'Neill, he's a guy that has not walked very often at any point in his career. And this spring, he's drawing more walks and getting into hitters' counts. So that's the improvement that you're talking about.
Made a great statement today to me about, you know, the muscle he's working on more than anything, because of course he's a guy you think about as a muscular guy. He says the one between my ears.
It's a thinking man's game too.
Yeah.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Fights it off. We've got baseball here today on Fox Sports Midwest. We've got hockey coming up. The Blues will take on the Rangers, 5:30. And the Blues continue to win games. And we are your home for Cardinals baseball, Blues hockey. The Missouri Valley Conference tournament will be this weekend. Those are always fun days for us at Fox Sports Midwest. We will have regular season 151 games for you. 151 on your home of Cardinals baseball. And we had the top ratings in the game a year ago. And we thank you very much for your viewership, spring training, and all season long.
Evan Krasinski just turned into Brett Cecil.
So Evan sits, Cecil's up.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. We knew we'd see Brett sometime today. Kind of a mixed bag for him this spring. Command still an issue.
3-2 put in play. Couple of hops, hit down to third. Adrianza gets Tyler O'Neill. And the first out here in the home half of the third. Here's Dexter Fowler, was caught looking first time up. Boy, remember this time last year, it really was the focal point of camp, trying to get him healthy and right in many ways. And I think it's nice for everyone, you know, just Dexter's getting ready for the season.
Yep,
and he'll be ready to go.
Yep.
And he hits that out of play.
You know, it's interesting how 1 year actually can bleed into the next year in a variety of ways. We talked to a lot of the Washington Nationals people about what they're doing with their pitchers. They've had several of their bullpen guys who haven't thrown in a game yet because they played an extra month last year.
Look at the workload that Strasburg had. Huge.
100%. And a different thought with Max Scherzer, because he missed some time, that he didn't have to be on the slow play in spring training, and he's actually already gone. I think he went 5 innings in a game already because he wants to work.
Good changeup there. 2 strikes on Fowler. And the 1-2 pitch to Dexter Fowler, up and in, 2-2.
So how injuries affect that next spring training, how that spring training affects the early part of the season, and then who's ready for October, all of that comes into play. Miles Michaelis this year, fair amount of innings last year, the year before, but he's going to get the slow play this year because of his arm issue. And how do you turn that into a positive by having him be ready and strong at the right time in 2020? That's the question right now.
It's a full count on Dexter Fowler. There's Miles Michaelis. John Gant there on the right. Your television screen. We saw a Gant pitch yesterday, 3 innings, and 2 of those were scoreless. A 3-2 pitch. And Fowler pulls it foul. And that's why you have a backup catcher down there.
That's how you protect. Now that is a big league job of protecting. He's not just standing there. He's ready for this bullet. Here it comes. Boom. Get down. Now Stubby just got out of the way.
And Fowler a strikeout, 0 for 2 today. And it brings in Ravello, who doubled and scored back in the 2nd inning. So 26th man this year in baseball, and that brought Rangel Ravello back from playing overseas. as he was ticketed to go play outside the United States. And the Cardinals said, well, Jose Martinez, he's going to Tampa Bay, and we're going to have a shot for you to make this club. And he said, sounds good to me. Came on back. The 0-1 pitch. Put in play to short. Lewis across the diamond. Cardinals go in order. Fourth inning rolls in when we come back. Cardinals baseball back at it again tomorrow, and Dakota Hudson will make that start. We'll come your way at noon. The Cards and the Astros, and Dakota Hudson. It'll be his third appearance and his first start. He's pitched in relief of Jack Flaherty in each of his first 2 appearances. 4 2/3 thus far. Couple of runs on 4 hits, no walks, struck out 5 for the 16-game winner last year. Now Brett Cecil in for St. Louis. So noon tomorrow on our Budweiser What's on Tap. Alex Avila. Genesis Cabrera, a cracked nail, so he had to exit early in this start. Kim, Cardinals being cautious with him, and he was supposed to start, then goes to a side session. Andrew Miller got up, warmed up. We don't know about it, Miller. Could have been just by design. You never know, but looked like he was going to pitch in this game, and then
He was slated to.
Went into the dugout, and he was talking with the Cardinals brass and medical team, so we'll get word on that after the game. And now another lefty in Brett Cecil. Two balls, 1 strike. Avila, Wade, and Larnach. 3, 4, and 5 in the lineup for Minnesota. Good curveball. Cardinals had a run in the first on a 2-out RBI single from Tyler O'Neill, and 3 runs in the second inning and lead this ball game 4-0. The 2-2 from Brett Cecil. It's a tough game when your dad even trades you away. That happened in the career of Alex Avila. And his dad, a GM, traded his son away. Now, how do you go home and talk to mom about that one, A Christmas table could be a little tough at dinner time.
Yeah, a little icy. I can see that. Now, what if he went to what if he went to his dad and requested a trade?
That's an interesting thought. Dad, I don't like this organization. Get me out of here.
I'm tired of my teammates talking about the general manager. Now, think how uncomfortable that would be.
It's a tough league, isn't it?
It'd be a little bit like, you're going to a school where one of your parents is a teacher. Several people know what that's like. But in baseball, there's some locker room talk, of course, and boy, I can't believe that guy didn't make that deal.
Well, I would think it was, for many years, very tough on Chris Duncan.
Yes.
God rest his soul.
And fun and meaningful, but difficult in some ways for Dave Duncan, too.
For sure. Dave McKay, Cody McKay. 3-2 the count. And a fly ball into left field. There's Dylan Carlson. And it still makes me, you know, the Cat has done some great features over the years.
Of course.
For instance, being down here, and he took Tyler O'Neill to lunch, and they had a very nice get-together. Well, Cody McKay became a massage therapist, I believe. And Jim, being the great reporter that he is, wanted to find out all about it, and so there's Jim on the table.
With Cody McKay.
Yes.
In Phoenix, I guess, is where he is.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I believe so.
Do you remember that?
I don't. I missed that one.
Oh, he's had some beauties over the years.
And I'm having a hard time visualizing it, and maybe I won't even try.
It's up there with his fight with Jamal Mayers, which was one of my favorites, which he comes popping up from the ice missing a tooth.
I like several of his Joe Kelly things, especially when
Joe Kelly
would do the elderly gentleman. He actually had him set up, and he's interviewing Nelly.
That was a good one.
That was awesome.
He's had some beauties over the years, hasn't he? 1-1, slicing foul and out of play.
And he's a beauty just by himself.
1-2 the count. Broken bat there off the end of the bat of Lamont Wade. Single to center his first time up. Some of his Lance Lynn sit-downs were some of his best work over the years.
Yeah, Lance could be a little cantankerous in those interviews. He had this faux angry thing that he would do. And he was certainly a contrarian, Lance was. And I think Jim understood him and liked him.
Shallow center, catch made by Bader. Well, he gets those fun interviews and features because of his great relationships with the players.
No doubt.
And that continues today. Jimmy just texted me, by the way. He said, don't forget about my sprint with Kyle Loesch in Houston.
Yes. That was a bet, as I understood, it. Kyle Loesch bet him. He said, let's race, and I'll bet you $10. And they raced, and Kyle didn't really run and just took the $10.
But Jimmy, I would love to have gotten a watch on his 40. It was kind of like the combine.
Now, Cat said he knew that's what was going on, and I'm
not so sure.
I don't know. I don't know either. He played it off pretty well. Either way.
Good breaking ball there by Cecil to Larnach, who flied to center with 2 runners on back in the first.
So you're telling me Cat's watching?
Indeed he is. Tell you what, Cecil's had some better pitches in this inning.
He has. That's a good breaking ball. Several good breaking balls and better command too. He's more together, straight to the plate. Very, very positive outing thus far for Brett Cecil.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Off the end of the bat, a little squibber. Hit left side and safe at first. Cardinals had a shift on. I believe that's Montero at third base. And so Cecil not quite out of the inning.
Well, he took his time just a little bit. Again, not normally a shortstop, a third baseman, and didn't recognize the speed and should have been out number 3 and wasn't.
Alex Kirilloff walked his first time up. What do you think?
Oh, I don't know. Oh boy.
Awfully close. I do think, though, that play is a good example of how a couple of years ago we would say all the time it has to be to the back of the mitt, and then that was changed up.
Right.
So the rule not quite to that extent anymore, is it?
No, it's evolved. It's got to be within the confines of the glove, not exactly in the back of the glove. I think they just found that just too hard to really discern. I mean, it was actually a rule that you almost couldn't even measure, depending on which camera got it. And, you know, there are different cameras that are a little more slow-mo than others. And, you know, it just seemed like a little blur there at the end, and you're almost forced to guess.
I'm trying to see the pop of the glove, too.
Right.
Here's the 0-2.
And that's, you know, I'm not against replay. I think it's been good. But I think when you get down to that nuanced difference, it's the whole – several players, Dan, you and I talked about this between innings, are coming out. Several players, and I would say several general managers agree that baseball's gone too far with technology. Now, I'm, again, not an anti-technology guy to say that, but it's really kind of sapped some of the artistry out of the game. And there's talk because of the sign stealing scandal. And it's some serious talk among baseball players and general managers, and I think managers, to say, let's just get the technology off the field. I'm not saying out of the game, but off the field real time, and just let the players play.
Into the shift. Sosa, nice play. Midway through 4. Cardinals on top. St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Ford, the official car and truck of the Cardinals, and by Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters. Beautiful day here at Roger Dean Stadium with Rick Horton. I'm Dan McLaughlin. This is Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. Jorge Alcala, last season in the minor leagues, his record 6-7, and Dylan Carlson leads it off. Carlson reached on an error and scored back in the second inning. Left field today for Dylan, who has been one of the major subjects of talk around here at camp in a positive manner.
We've talked about several players during this game today, Dan, that we are almost using the phrase under the radar. And I wonder if it's because there's so much attention on Dylan Carlson right now, and is he going to be the guy? And of course, we're all curious about Kim, too, the starter.
Into shallow center, and the catch is made.
And so maybe a little less attention on Dexter Fowler, just kind of his normal spring training. A little less attention maybe on Tyler O'Neill, and maybe that's not so bad. I think there's a lot of attention, frankly, there is in my book, on Matt Carpenter. I mean, if Matt Carpenter can come back and be a threat after a down year, which he admits was a down year, that could be a huge step forward for the Cardinals. And so I think he's a kind of a pivotal guy to watch, but allows other players to just kind of do their thing.
Here's Harrison Bader, struck out with runners at first and third and nobody out back in the second. Mike Schultz has indicated that Carlos Martinez will be in the rotation for St. Louis, and when he's not in the rotation, he'll be working our cameras.
It's great.
Nice work, Carlos.
He'll do it with joy, too. Que bueno. Nicely done. Outstanding.
All right, what kind of work does Carlos Martinez do behind the camera?
Oh, pretty steady so far. Look at that.
Move it a little bit, Carlos. Show us something here.
Nice.
Up and down. How about a little left to right? Can you do that? He's back.
He's got a new and expensive toy.
Yes, he does. 3-1 on Bader.
Well, Schulte was saying he wants his players' personalities to come out. There you go.
He's got plenty of it.
Yes, he does.
Let's take it for a ball inside, so 1-out walk for Bader. Bader has talked about that if and when he gets on base, he wants to be more aggressive in base stealing here in 2020.
Well, and of course he wasn't on as much as he would have liked a season ago. 205 average, and that limited him to just 11 stolen bases. And you know, you think about when you're not in the flow of the game typically, and you're not on a lot, you just kind of can go into a slump running the bases too, get a little timid. We know how fast he is.
Edmundo Sosa rips it into center field for a base hit.
The sacrifice fly and an RBI in the second. A bullet to center in the fourth. His spring training continues to impress. Now the number's not great as far as average for Sosa, but still like what I've seen from him. And there's opportunity for him now with Jairo Munoz.
And the uncertainty hurt Brad Miller too,
right.
So he'll get plenty of playing time in this spring. Here's Tommy Edman. 2-out RBI double back in the second. Also a run scored. 1 for 2 today in the Cardinals leadoff position. And they want to talk things over. Let's go back to Sosa just for a moment. He is from Panama, the 24-year-old. He does have a minor league option available, so if he does not crack with the big league club, he could go to Memphis and more than likely would be the everyday shortstop there. Remember, he did appear with the Cardinals in 2019 in just 8 games, had 8 at-bats. But he's a career .283 hitter in the minor leagues.
Right, yeah.
Tommy Edman looks at a strike. Didn't like that call. Thought it was a little bit low. Cardinals have talked about using Edman like the Cubs or many teams. Tampa Bay, Kansas City used Ben Zobrist all over the diamond. And it's not to say he couldn't be a member of that competition in the outfield too. Second base, short, third, and play it at a high level. Plus defensive player at 3 different spots last year. So in the National League with double switches, he becomes a very valuable player. 0-2 the count on Tommy Edman. On the ground to second, 4-6, 3 with the double play. The double play leads us to inning number 5, and the Cardinals lead this ball game against Minnesota. It's 4-0. Sign up for the all-new Cardinals 5K presented by Fox Sports Midwest, April 11th. 5K course winds through downtown St. Louis and along the riverfront before finishing at Busch Stadium. And you can sign up now at cardinals.com/5K. Johan Oviedo, impressive young man, is into the ball game. Those are his numbers last season in the minor leagues, and that body's starting to fill out. 6'6", and he looks the part too.
You know, I've noticed that when he comes in the game, you sit up a little taller in your chair, you get a little bit more leaning forward, and you get a little bit more animated.
I do.
And I don't think it's the coffee you're drinking. I just think you like watching this guy pitch.
I love it. There's a lot to
the
love.
Coffee?
Well, I love the coffee too. But this guy has got electric stuff. The pitch at 94, good movement. And it blends into what we were talking about earlier. The Cardinals, with this young team that they have in terms of guys that could be on the major league roster, well, they have plenty of young talent in the minor leagues. Maybe not ready for Major League Baseball, but you know, you're putting the polish, the shine on that diamond, and it's not that far away. A lot of depth in the organization. Whew. So now do you see why I sit upright?
Yeah.
You see that, and it's about consistency, the major leagues. You do that, he'll be just fine.
Very good slider.
Here's a 1-2 pitch.
You know, it's odd. He's a bit of a short armor, too. I mean, it's not like he really brings his arm way back. His motion reminds me, now I'm going in the Wayback Machine here, of a Cardinals starter in the 90s, Kenny Hill. You remember him? He was
good.
He was good. He was tall, too, and he had kind of a short, bringing his elbow and his hand a little bit closer to his head. He's not way back.
Swing and a miss, and a strikeout of the top prospect of the Twins, Royce Lewis.
Good downward tilt. Very nicely done.
Tomas Talis. Fly to center his first time up. That's mid-90s right there. So Oviedo is penciled in for the minor leagues. He'll be a starter. And this is one of the things he told me would be his dream in this camp. He said, man, I'm so excited to be at big league camp. And I said, what are you most excited about big league camp? What do you want to take away from it? He said, being from Cuba, coming here with the Cardinals, I just want one time. Let me throw to Yadier Molina. I mean, he was so, it was a kid, you know, he's innocent with it. Well, here's his chance. There's a grounder to first, taken there by Ravello.
Well, if he keeps making pitches the way he is making them in this inning, he's going to get more than one chance to throw to Yadier Molina.
Yeah.
I would say several.
That pitch taken for a ball. Gilberto Celestino, the center fielder today for the Minnesota Twins.
You've done a great job with the names, Danny. I'm telling you, you are just on your game. By the way,
I need a Smith or a Jones.
I don't know if you know this or not, but Jackson and Joey Martin are here from Atlanta to root for their favorite Cardinal team. They brought their dad along. I can't remember his name, but Jackson and Joey are here.
With Charles.
Oh, that's right. They brought Dad along. That was nice of them.
They drove, too.
Right. Cardinal fans everywhere, Danny.
You got Cardinal fans down in Atlanta, and certainly in great stretches in the Midwest.
All over the world.
3-1 pitch. And a fly ball that'll carry to Dexter Fowler. Oviedo, a 1-2-3. Left-hander Caleb Theobar is in for Minnesota. Cardinals will have Molina.
And that's Elihuris Montero. He came in for Carpenter.
And Tyler O'Neill. Thank you for picking me up there.
Hey, that's what partners do.
A lot of guys in and out of the lineup, Ricky. Spring training.
That is true. By the way, it is Elihuris, and that's hard to say. Elihuris. That's correct.
Kind of got it.
I think it's Senor Montero.
I like that one a little bit easier.
Okay.
And here is Yadier Molina. You're telling me a story about Yadier Molina and Dave Ricketts earlier in camp, and then you had another one about Dave Ricketts before our ball game today.
I got a lot of Dave Ricketts stories. Yes, I do. I remember the very first day, and the one that pertains to Yadi, the day that Dave Ricketts came over to me, and Yadi was still just a very young player, probably 17, 18 years old.
And for fans that don't know, longtime coach Dave Ricketts.
And player. And Dave was a player for the Pirates and the Cardinals both. Was around on those 67 teams, 68. And backup catcher most of his career. Outstanding athlete. Dave came up to me very early in spring training, and he said, I've got a guy you need to see. And when he would say something like that, you know, it'd be like, okay, you pay attention. And he was talking about a young guy named Yadier Molina. He said, this guy's different. I like the way he works. You would not believe his skills. He's taking in everything I'm teaching him. And when Yadi talks about learning to play this game, of course, his brothers helped him along the way, but he has great respect for the job that Dave Ricketts did helping him early on.
And Dave,
really welcomed you to the Cardinal clubhouse,
now, my
too?
first conversation with Dave Ricketts was with him about 2 inches from my face, yelling at me for a good 5 minutes because I wondered if I was allowed to get one of the autographed baseballs that was on the middle of the clubhouse, and he wanted to know who I thought I was and how long I'd actually been here, and if I had a problem with it, to go see the manager.
Which was Whitey Herzog at that time.
And I said, I'm good.
And this was your first big league camp?
First, I'm going to say it was probably day 2. I hadn't met him
the year
yet.
after they won the World Series.
Right.
So this is 83.
Yeah, and these guys won the World Series, and you're here. You want to nobody even knows who you are.
Which is a strikeout of Molina.
Which is kind of true, but.
So you went back to your place in the locker room.
So I went back to my place.
Clubhouse.
No, I went back to my place for sure.
Yeah.
And my place was to just be there, and that's old school, Danny. And I will say this about Dave Ricketts. I love Dave Ricketts, and I had the honor of speaking at his funeral, and I told that story at his funeral, and everybody that knew Dave knew that it was a story based on his concern, care, and love for me, not trying to be hard. But you got to be thick-skinned to be in this game, and that's what he was telling me.
Montero pops out for out number 2. Willie McGee, the Cardinals made the trade to bring Willie to St. Louis, and Willie is at the cage, spring training. He tells the story great, but flailing away at every single ball that's coming in. There are baseballs bouncing, and he's swinging at them. And there were those that wanted to change Willie's swing. And
right, leave him alone.
Dave Ricketts apparently went screaming and said, do not talk to him. You leave him alone. He'll be just fine. And Willie says, without that, who knows if I get to the big leagues, because he allowed me to be me.
And you know the other story about Willie McGee when at his MVP year, you know what bat he was using.
That would be your bat?
He used my bat for a lot of it. It was C271. He and I used the same bat. He used it differently than I did. I used it to bunt. But a bat order of mine came in. I've told this story before. A bat order of mine came in, and it had thick grain. And it was, I mean, a choice bat. I mean, and what's a pitcher getting a bat like that for? And that's exactly what Vince Coleman said. And Vince took several of my bats for himself and gave plenty to Willie. And he's got a couple of baseball cards where you'll see a number 49 at the knob of the bat.
Your first hit against
Nolan Ryan. My goodness.
We're done for the year with theme tickets on sale now, and they feature new themes and returning favorites, including John Daly Night, Friends Night, Star Wars Night, Margaritaville Night, Grateful Dead Night, and many more. Visit Cardinals.com/theme, and again, opening day tickets are available for you as well. Not sold out just yet. Second inning of work for Oviedo.
Cardinal pitching has been pretty much right on time here this afternoon. Everybody. I like Brett Cecil. That's as good as we've seen him in a long time. Probably maybe as a Cardinal, and that may be an exaggeration, but there was a time, and we've talked about this down here in spring, there was a time that Brett Cecil was one of the top 3 left-handed relievers in the American League.
Sosa, nice play. It's 4 up and 4 down for Oviedo. Find it interesting, but I'm sure by design, Yadier Molina is still in this game even after his 3rd at bat.
How about that? And here's Sosa. Told me before the game he prefers shortstop, but he said, I'll play anywhere. Certainly can play some second base.
But I would imagine they want Yadi with Oviedo.
I would think so. No, Oviedo wants Yadi with Oviedo.
Yes.
I don't know who the they is, but.
Adrianza is 0 for 2. Fly to left and also fly to right. And a fly ball lifted into right. Wendell knocked that down. Fowler under it, makes the catch. So Dexter makes that catch, and I get worried every time when he catches it near the chest.
Yeah.
But I've never seen him drop one.
And, well, you know, once. He dropped one last year. He did. I believe
like
he did.
That?
Yep. But, I mean, that's going to happen. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. It's the way he learned how to catch from his father. Had a chance to meet his father last year in spring training down here, and he had visions of Dexter being a catcher when he was young, and so he taught him to catch everything and pull it in to really his chest, and so that's how he learned to catch. That's how he does it. Really can't break the habit.
Avila at the plate. To each their own. Just catch it.
Just catch it.
Right.
And that makes me think of my other favorite story about an outfielder who was told to be careful about how you catch a ball. That was Andy Van Slyke and Bob Forsch. And I know you know that story. Happened in Chicago. Andy one-handed a ball in right field. Kind of snapped at it like Ricky Henderson used to do. Andy, of course, a Gold Glover, but he was a young player at the time. And Bob Forsch said, you can catch balls like that, but if you ever drop one, don't come back to the clubhouse.
Dave Ricketts will be waiting for you.
That's right.
New pitcher is right-hander Jake Reed for the Minnesota Twins. Last year, his numbers in the minor leagues, and he'll get Dexter Fowler to lead it off this inning. We'll see Rangel Ravelo and Dylan Carlson. Cardinals lead 4-0. They picked up a run in the first and 3 in the second.
Dan, you know the Cardinals this spring at 3-6-1. Only in spring training do you actually get a tie in baseball. 3-6-1. So through the first 10 games, you'd say, well, that record's not very good. Why are we so excited about the pitching and some of the at-bats and some of the young players? Well, you know, there have been several games that were lost in the ninth inning, including our game yesterday. For those who were able to watch that, they saw it. The Cardinals had 5 walks in the last inning and blew a lead. Well, that, you know, you're not going to be doing that with your regular closer. And the games, it's just kind of hard to tell what really happened if you just go with the score in a spring training game, especially early.
Minnesota 4-3-3 here in spring training. 0-2 on Dexter Fowler. We play Dexter straight up. Cardinals with a lefty getting loose in their pen. It's a nice birthday present for Johan Oviedo to pitch.
Right.
And have 2 scoreless innings thus far as he is 22.
I believe it's Junior Fernandez's birthday today as well. Boy, did I like what I saw from him yesterday.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Fowler.
Mike Schilt was asked the question directly. Number of guys you have that are potentially going to be a closer for you, and he said, well, I'm not going to give you a number, but it's a big one. So he didn't really want to get into naming one name or another, but clearly he's happy with several of the relievers who are vying for that 9th inning.
And that may be the way they go until Jordan Hicks is available.
Why not?
And healthy enough to pitch.
You can win that way. Brevia for a while, and Andrew Miller for a while, and Helsley for a while. I mean, that's not a bad idea.
Fowler strikes out, and he is 0 for 3 with 3 Ks today. Johan Oviedo, good stuff.
Well, he's going to be our player of the game because it's his birthday and because he pitched well. And he got to have the thrill that he was seeking, throwing to the great Yadier Molina. What a day. Our Budweiser player of the game, Johan Oviedo.
From Oviedo to Rangel Ravelo. Minnesota makes the trip from Fort Myers to Jupiter. The Cardinals will do that later this month. There he is talking with Jose Oquendo. And Ravelo hits a fly ball out to left field. Kirilloff is there, out number 2. So 2 outs, and it's Dylan Carlson. Carlson today reached on an air and scored, and also flied out to shallow center. Twins using the shift here on the right side of the infield. And that's ball one. More and more you'll start to see the regulars play as we edge closer to opening day. As Carlson has seen plenty of playing time thus far and made the most of it.
Last 7 to 10 days is when I kind of start thinking, okay, a little more interested in winning. You're going to start using your bullpen more situationally. And after the 12th of March, we'll start to get a feel for how managers might use the 3-batter minimum rule, or avoid the problem, I should say.
And take out the DH March 15th.
Right.
Two balls, one strike on Dylan Carlson.
I'd like to take out the DH for longer than that, but that's just one man's opinion.
That's hit down the left field line, slicing out of play. It would seem the momentum is building and it's coming. The CBA, the collective bargaining agreement in baseball, is up after next season. Not this year, but the year after, and that'll be something I'm sure that will be of interest in the game with that. The 2-2. And a strikeout of Dylan Carlson. Scoreless inning for the right-hander. 4-0 St. Louis. Start a 2-year subscription to Cardinals Magazine. Take home the exclusive Yadier Molina bobblehead, available just for subscribers, or register for a 1-year subscription. Receive 2 tickets to a home game. Don't wait. Sign up now. 345-9000 or cardinals.com/publications. The newest edition. There's Zach Thompson of the Cardinals Magazine. Was right here in the booth when we arrived this morning, and it's Tommy Edman on the cover. Pick 6. Tommy Edman prepares for a 6-position role in 2020.
Got to have a lot of baseball gloves for that, don't you? Zach Thompson knows what he'll be doing. He'll be pitching. First-round pick last year, and just in one summer of pitching is vaulted to the number 6 prospect on the Cardinals minor league depth chart. Dylan Carlson's 1, Nolan Gorman 2, Matthew Liberatore, another new Cardinal, is 3. Andrew Kisner, who we expect to see a lot of, is number 4. Eliuris Montero, who's in this game, is 5. And Zach Thompson, number 6.
Polished as he pitched at Kentucky and pitched in the SEC, one of the best baseball conferences in the land. As you look at the top 10 prospect list,
polished typically means you get there quicker. Don't have as many things to learn.
And a strikeout to start his day.
Outstanding slider there. Just had a little cutter almost.
Trevor Larnach is fly to center and also singled back in the 4th. Cardinal pitching has allowed just 2 hits today. There's a look at Mike Maddox, the Cardinals pitching coach.
Probably has not stopped thinking about Andrew Miller, whatever that conversation was about, that led Andrew Miller to shut it down and not pitch in this game, but also Genesis Cabrera. Seen plenty of lefties in this game, but there's a few we haven't seen, including KK, who was originally slated to start today and was going to throw a bullpen only. So trust me, there's a lot of things on Mike Maddox's mind other than the score of this game, but one of the things he's certainly interested in is this young left-hander Zach Thompson.
2-2 the count. You could see a guy like Thompson having the typical atypical route to the major leagues, but it was typical for Michael Wacha as he made a rapid rise through the minor leagues and then was in the big leagues. Nice pick. It's short. Up with it. Show off the arm.
Wow.
Sosa can pick it, my man.
Boy, I love it. He made a great play at second last inning and playing shortstop here on the backhand. That's all about reflexes. Great hand-eye coordination. And you make your pitcher happy. It's one thing you notice, Dan, when you go from it. We talked about yesterday how Junior Fernandez went from A ball to double A to triple A. And you had that rapid ascent. When you have that as a pitcher, what's most stunning to you is not how much more difficult the hitters are, because they are. But really, they just make less mistakes, or you can't make mistakes to them. Let's put it that way. But what you notice is everybody catches everything.
Mm-hmm. They make the plays.
You give up a bullet like that up the middle, and you got 2 outs, nobody on.
And in college, that's off the glove, or maybe not off of anything. It's in left field.
Now, I do not know who played shortstop for the University of Kentucky, but I'm going to guess he might not have made that play.
Probably not.
Now, if you are watching our game today and you know who played shortstop at the University of Kentucky, I apologize, but Sosa can pick it.
The strikeout, a quick inning for Zach Thompson. The pick by Sosa. 4-0. Time to stretch. March Madness coming to St. Louis, the State Farm Missouri Valley Conference basketball tournament Thursday and Friday, and you can see it on Fox Sports Midwest and Midwest Plus. Jack Watkins, Mike Kern, the commissioner, Doug Elgin, all the crew of the Valley getting set for what is a great weekend of hoops. Griffin Jacks, the new pitcher for Minnesota. You got something on your mind, Rick?
I'm deciding whether or not I want to tell you where Doug Elgin used to work.
That is ripped into left. Harrison Bader, base hit.
And I'm not going to tell you.
University of Virginia.
That's where I met him.
Long time.
Oh, yeah, a long time ago.
Been a long-time commissioner with the Valley.
He sure has. And he's done a great job with it as well.
Kept that tournament in St. Louis. Renovations. Beautiful building. NHL All-Star Game. The Valley. Olympic events through the St. Louis Sports Commission. Good stuff. Runner goes, and a high fly ball off the bat of Sosa. Catch is made. Bader has to hurry up, and he's in there safely at first. That would have been very close.
If he caught that ball, I think he's out. Pretty strong throw from right as well. Bader had a good jump, and that's in good position to make a throw right there. He's moving towards the base. I don't know, close play, but Bader turned it on at the end.
Here's Tommy Edman. Grounded out to third. 2-out double to left center. RBI in the second. And is also hit into a double play, trying to bunt his way on, and does. And it goes into the Cardinal bullpen. Bader to third base. And Tommy Edman doing what Tommy does. Finds a way on.
Well, every player wants to bunt at least once in spring training just to remember if they know how to do it. And there's the bat angle, the bat head of the bat above the barrel of the barrel of the bat above the handle of the bat, which is the way it's supposed to be. And he pushes it to the third base side, and he starts flying down the line. May have had him with a good throw, but that should be scored a hit and an error.
Jose Godoy at the plate in the infield in for Minnesota. Runners at second and third. First time we've seen Godoy at the dish today. And it's 2-0. Godoy from Venezuela, 25 years of age. Last year's splitting time between AA and AAA.
We had a nice moment yesterday with a catcher that maybe not familiar to most Cardinal fans. Minor league guy was down here in A-ball. That was Dennis Ortega, who homered late in the game and at the time gave the Cardinals
a 4-3 lead.
You bet. Was not to be a game winner, but at the time it sure felt that way.
Godoy hits it off the end of the bat. It's sinking and down. That's a base hit. One run will score. Here comes Edman. No throw, he scores. Godoy drives in 2.
Well, he's seen some mistakes here in this inning, and that's what happens with players that aren't quite as polished. And these are the younger players for the Twins, not their frontline guys here. This throw a little lackadaisical, too, because Edman did not get a good jump off a third, and they didn't really even think about going home. They might have had a chance at him, but good moment for Godoy.
Ricky, he's thrown out 42% of base stealers in his professional career. Godoy. That's impressive.
Sure is.
Here's Montero. Godoy at first. And the Cardinals now with a 6-0 lead over Minnesota. Little check swing, base hit into right. Godoy to second, now to third. And runners at the corners for St. Louis, and only one down.
Well, Montero gets a lot of his hits the other way. As big and as strong as he is, he's got a good knack for driving the ball the other way. He did that yesterday. Now, this was a bit of a, excuse me, check swing, but he'll take it. This isn't plan A, but now if you or I did that and had a check swing and the ball just hit our bat, how far do you think it would go?
Halfway up the line.
Maybe. And
I'm giving us credit.
And we would have several sore fingers.
Yes, we would. BBs everywhere.
Yes.
Here's Lucan Baker. Haven't seen much of Lucan.
No, we haven't.
In this camp.
Again, the product of having 71, now 72 players with Kramer Robertson reporting today.
Two balls and no strikes. Second round pick. Back in 2018, Baker. The helmet pops off.
I think he's wearing Colton Wong's helmet.
Lucan had 10 home runs at Palm Beach last year.
And this happened to Colton Wong about 4 times yesterday.
Lucan played at TCU. Hit 28 home runs while with TCU. The 2-2 pitch. Three and 2 the count. Godoy at third, Montero at first. We'll see if they want to start the runner here. The infield in for Minnesota. Not running, and Baker is swing and a miss. So 2 outs, runners at first and third. Austin Dean will be the hitter.
Yeah, we've mentioned, Dan, a lot of the outfield candidates, but really Austin Dean was in that mix. It is in that mix. He's off to a bit of a slow start this spring, but had good minor league numbers the last couple of years and really just didn't stick with the Marlins, and the Cardinals giving him a chance here in spring training. And again, the power number's terrific in the minor leagues. He's definitely somebody's got an opportunity and got a shot.
Played in 64 games with Miami last year, had 6 home runs. Had 24 total if you combine what he did at New Orleans, with 18 there. AAA affiliate for Miami. And the 0-1 pitch to Austin Dean. Popped foul and out of play. Two pitch on a hop to second, a flip and a force. Cardinals though add to their lead. It's 6-0 St. Louis. Spring training baseball. Cardinals and Twins. Fox Sports Midwest. You can stream spring training baseball live or on demand with MLB.tv. Watch high definition video on any size screen, at home, on the road, in the office. Visit MLB.tv for details. We're in the top of the 8th, and the Cardinals have a lead of 6-0. They've out hit the Twins 9-2. So pitching a story today. What's happened between the white lines and some of the pitching in terms of injury.
That didn't come out, and that would be, of course, Kim, the originally scheduled starter, who was dealing with a bit of a very slight groin issue, and they had him just throw a bullpen today, and he may start in a couple of days. Alex Fagaldi will be the new Cardinal pitcher for the 8th inning, and he's got a tough act to follow. The 2 hits that you mentioned, Dan, one of them was a bloop to center field, and the other one an infield hit. So that's all the Twins have been able to muster here. And again, it's not Sano, Donaldson, Polanco, Buxton, Cruz, Marwin Gonzalez, etc., etc. I mean, they've got a stacked lineup. But
they're going to be really good.
But they're not here today.
Minnesota's going to be awfully tough to beat this year. Fagaldi pitched at Springfield and Palm Beach last year. He'll turn 26 late April. Former 30th round selection in 2017. Alex Fagaldi. And the 1-0 pitch to Royce Lewis, the top prospect for Minnesota. American League Central Division. White Sox should be better. Some of that young talent now coming of age. You've got Minnesota. Detroit rebuilding.
Yep.
Kansas City rebuilding with Mike Matheny at the helm now. Good luck to Mike. The 2-0 pitch by Fagaldi. Ripped out to left field. And down into the left field corner on a couple of hops. And Lewis on his way to second base. He's had some impressive at-bats here today.
He has. Well, he hit a ball we can only guess was a few feet foul. He thought it was fair and was into his home run trot. That would have been a 2-run home run early in the game. It was called foul. And the next pitch, he laced just past the third base bag, and that was called foul. And he ended up striking out. But you could tell he's got good bat speed, good power. Twins are definitely on an upswing as an organization, and not just what they did last year, but they've made some really good moves.
Tomas Talis. Good pitch, turned it over.
Change up. Well, you mentioned, Dan, that Figaldi was a late draft choice, but you get people out, you advance anyway. You've got a career minor league ERA of 2.68. He was signed in 2017, so just 3 minor league seasons, and here he is at big league camp.
The 0-2 pitch. Hit to second. Tommy Edman with the play. Runner advances to third. It's now Nagowski who's at first base. Salatino now the hitter for Minnesota. Oh for 2 today. He struck out and lined out. What have been your biggest storylines of this spring as you now evaluate a couple of weeks into camp?
Like one of the storylines is Miles Michaelis not being ready for opening day. I think that's a thing you got to deal with, and I think that's, I'm going to say, on the negative side. Although it's not that his injury appears to be that serious. And again, you mentioned that John Mozeliak said good news on that front today. He thinks that it'll be shorter than they'd maybe wondered that it might be, and so I think that's certainly a storyline. I see the Cardinals striking out less. I mean, there's plenty of home runs this spring training, up and down the lineup, but I don't see as many strikeouts just in general. And that was such an issue last year, and it needs to continue that way. And I guess the third thing I'd say is overall, the pitching's been outstanding from the guys that are going to be there.
Now we still have more games to be played than have been played already, so there's a long ways to go. But you'd have to say the start of camp for Dylan Carlson, clearly a big story thus far.
It's a story, but not a surprise, because we saw him last year. It's not that he did about this last year for the first 10 to 12 games. I mean, he was red hot. I mean, it's like, boy, this guy can play. And of course, we had Tommy Edman was maybe the surprise last year.
And that's a strike. 3-2.
I think it's a surprise when you've got a guy like Figaldi, not an overall spring training surprise, but the surprise is when your 30th round draft choice is your all-star in the Florida State League and in big league camp after 3 years. I mean, that's the surprise. Carlson, expected.
3-2 pitch. Fly ball out to center, and it is down, and Carlson may have misplayed. That might be the first time I've seen him. I don't know if you want to say misplay it, but didn't get a great jump.
Well, I would say he misplayed it. And
started today
watch
and
the
left.
step in, then the step back, and then not quite sure where it is. I'm not going to say that was an easy play, but it's certainly a play he could have made.
Carlson started in left and now in center. Ryan Maurer now the hitter. First time we've seen him in this ball game, and he looks at a ball up and in. I get asked about it. I'll ask you. You think Dylan Carlson breaks camp with the Cardinals, or is it too early to tell? Let it play out.
Let me get my coin out. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you.
Well, I'm going to say 50-50, and I mean that with some thought. That's just not being politically correct or being or abdicating your question, Dan, because I can make a lot of arguments both ways. I think there's a lot of things that would have to happen for him to make the team that really don't have anything to do with him. I mean, I think if he makes the team, he's playing, and that means you've shifted your thoughts about Harrison Bader, let's say, or Tyler O'Neill, or Tommy Edman. I mean, you can't just give him a big league job at his young age without letting him play.
And a strike. 1-2.
An example would be Bobby Bonilla got hurt, correct? When
Albert came up.
And it was no choice with Bonilla out, Albert's in. But if Bonilla hadn't gotten hurt,
different story.
Different story.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Even though it's funny, I mean, in retrospect, there's so many players like Mark McGwire and others going to Tony La Russa and Walt Jockey and saying, we don't care if Bobby Bonilla is healthy.
Yeah.
Bring this guy, Albert
Jose
Pujols.
Oquendo was one of those guys, too.
Yeah.
Jose was clearly a strong voice in that era for Tony La Russa. Very much respect both ways between those two. And Jose's not afraid to tell you what he thinks.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. I don't know if you're the same way as I am, but they had a replay of the Angels game on MLB Network this morning, and I just happened to glance at it, and who's at the plate? Albert Pujols. What do?
Yeah.
I stop and I watch.
Of course.
I still do
He's
it
got
every
that,
time.
You want to see the scowl?
Oh, yeah.
The face. I mean, he's got this mean face like you're going to rip your head off, but he's not really like that.
Yeah.
But he's got a scowl for sure.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Reinheimer pops it up. And that's behind home plate, just below us.
I stop and watch if Mike Trout is hitting, too.
Especially a golf ball. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
So apparently, I guess it was last night or the night before. I think it was for an Albert Pujols charity event at Topgolf in Arizona. And I think he hit it out of Topgolf. It was unbelievable.
I thought you were going to say out of Arizona.
It might have been. Still going. It was unbelievable. I would have loved to have seen the club head speed on that swing. I mean, Ricky, he destroyed it.
I don't believe I've ever seen anybody hit a golf ball as far as I saw Rick Ankiel do 3 times this week.
Pretty good, huh?
Oh, my good. Well, pretty good. Pretty straight? No. Pretty long? Yes.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Rick has been around the club every day. We had him up in the booth here yesterday, and he'll be with us on Fox Sports Midwest. There's a strikeout. Rick doing our pre and post game shows. One of the analysts that we'll have back. We've got Brad Thompson, Tim McCarver, of course, Ricky here, and Al Raboski.
So great to have Rick get kind of behind the curtain and get involved in shadowing coaches. That's essentially what he's doing. And of course, Rick has the knowledge and the the depth of knowledge about pitching, hitting, and the psychology of the game. And he really has such a breadth of information to share, and he wants to learn too. That's what you love about Rick. He wants to learn.
Popped up. Nagowski, the first baseman, called off by Edman, and the catch is made. We're midway through 8, and it's 6-1 Cardinals. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. And by Hyundai. Visit your local St. Louis Hyundai dealer and test drive a Hyundai today. 6-1 Cardinals. Duran is the new pitcher. And he'll get Ronel Ravello here. Dylan Carlson coming up. It's a nice lazy afternoon spring training here in Jupiter, Florida. We've had over 6,000 here today, and
this is the best day we've had.
I would say so. We've had pretty good weather for the most part down here in Florida, and this is a complex that can hold, this stadium can hold about 7,000. We've got just over 6 today, so we've had some sellouts too. When spring break hits with the kids, that's when you really see this place get packed.
Worst thing that can happen in spring training is to have several rainouts in a row.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
I remember some spring trainings like that. And I mean, where you're just trying to get and simulate any work you can. Pitchers can throw in cages and hitters can hit in cages, and that's a thing. But boy, when you get the rain, it's a problem.
Hall of Fame voting is underway. Started yesterday at Cardinals.com. Here's Ravello, the 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. It's now live through April 17th. Vote for 2 candidates and see those candidates right there. Cardinals.com/HOF. Here's a 1-1. And Ravello hits it up the middle for a base hit. It's the second hit of the day to go along with a double for Rangel Ravello. Here's Dylan Carlson. He has struck out, reached on an error, and fly to center. 0 for 3 today. And that's ball 1. Two balls and no strikes. It's not only the attention of the fan base with Dylan Carlson and scouts behind home plate, but his teammates as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they're watching a very talented young man, and he's dealing with the pressures that come along with being a top prospect.
Doesn't seem to faze him much. He's embracing a lot of things. I've seen him sign autographs a lot, and he's not kind of running away and hiding. He's just getting right in the middle of it. And I mean, the real question is, all the baseball related stuff for Dylan Carlson, does he have anything that he has to polish and learn more too? I mean, so it's not just what's good for the Cardinals, it's what's best for Dylan Carlson, because you don't want him, Dan, to just be a big leaguer. I mean, if you want to say, is he a big leaguer? Of course he's a big leaguer right now. Of course he is. But what do you want out of him? You want him to be your all-star every year for years to come. The guy that's driving your offense. And so when is he ready for that? That's a different question. You can bring a player too early to the big leagues, and that actually can do him more harm than good.
He draws a walk, so runners at first and second and nobody out. And John Nagowski will be the batter. Single for Ravello, walk by Dylan Carlson. Now John Nagowski, who has seen a lot of playing time here early on in spring. First baseman, that's an outstanding glove man, and trying to get the offense to match it. But for the most part, when you watch him taking at bat, he's not swinging at pitches outside the strike zone. He's got a good understanding of what's happening at the plate.
He sure does.
Worked a lot with Jobel Jimenez, the assistant hitting coach for the Cardinals. Jobel was in the minor leagues and then shifted the coaching staff last year. He came up and really had worked a ton with some of these minor league guys.
Easygoing guy, isn't he, Jobel?
No balls and 1 strike on Nagowski. On the ground and under the glove of the shortstop, and the bases will be loaded as Ravello is held up and nobody out. Base hit, John Nagowski. I love that shot there when a hitter sees a pitch they like and their eyes get big.
Of course. Yeah, I don't think the pitcher doesn't notice that. Pitcher, by the way, is their 5th best prospect, Yohan Dern. So we're seeing a lot of the Twins' future here this afternoon.
There's Sosa, sac fly, RBI in the 2nd, single to center and a line out. He's got the bases loaded, nobody out. play. Sosa is a different looking player in this camp.
Strength, bat speed, definitely something different. Said he did more with lifting weights. Told me at the batting cage today, and whatever he's doing, keep doing it. Stock is rising.
He's made a couple of really fine plays defensively today as well. And he lines out to first, and a forced play at second, double play. A double play, and there's 2 away.
Well, you wondered how many players would get back because they're all thinking base hit. Well, 2 of them got back. But Dylan Carlson, not enough time to get back to second base. Kramer Robertson just added, and we saw him last spring training a couple of different times in the draft last year. And he was brought to big league camp. He was expecting just to come to minor league camp this year, but he got to big league camp because of the injury to Jairo Munoz. They wanted an extra body. Well, his body's now in the game.
Here's the 0-1 pitch with runners at first and third.
He's got good athletic genes. His mom, longtime coach at Baylor. Women's basketball, Kim Mulkey.
And she is headed to the Hall of Fame again as a coach and was in as a player. 2 strikes. These 2, Kramer and Tommy Edman, were roommates at AAA. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And now he's pinch hitting for his former roommate. And a strikeout of Robertson. 9th inning rolls in when we come back. The numbers for John Brebbia last year in 66 games with the big league club. John Brebbia in to pitch for St. Louis. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals.
You headed there today, Danny?
I have not been to the beach since we've come to Florida.
Huh.
Now, I've been in a lot of sand.
Yes, you have.
You get my drift.
Yes.
Just haven't been on that sand. So John Brebbia, get a good look at him. This is what he looks like without a beard.
Hardly recognize him. When he was running in, I thought, well, now is that Dubzanski? Wait a minute.
Who is this guy?
Who is this guy? And it's John Brebbia, who we think is a honorary left-hander. A lot of lefties today.
He is a funny guy. Good guy. And a good pitcher. He's done very, very well for St. Louis.
Well, what you like about being around John Brebbia is he does not take himself too seriously. But he takes his job seriously. And another great story of a guy that was overlooked for several years, came out of independent ball, and here he is.
I asked him the other day, I said, how did it happen? He said, I looked at my career. He said, I always wanted to do this as a profession. And I realized I had to throw harder.
Right.
And
just let it go.
Yeah, that's what he did.
That's right.
So he just started throwing harder and harder and harder and harder.
So he went from pitcher to thrower, which is normally you want to go the other way. But he went from pitcher to thrower, but in that journey of throwing, he found out he could pitch at that speed. It wasn't just throwing it. It was just, you know what, I'm kind of babying it a little bit. Trying to pinpoint control. Here it is. Let it eat.
2-2 the count. Originally signed by the Yankees and then released all the way down to independent ball and then back in with the Cardinals. And a strikeout for Brebbia to start his inning. So what'd you do this offseason? He's a well-read guy and likes to have different things.
Got married last year.
In each offseason and has a new baby too. But he said, I studied economics.
Huh. It's because he has more of them.
That's what we said. I said, well, that's a good thought since you're a major league player and those numbers have gotten a little better.
Right.
He said, it's exactly why I did it. The checks are a little better. Brent Rooker is the batter for Minnesota.
Not the specifics of it being economics, Dan, but doesn't that just go to show what kind of guy he is, that he's a learner, that he wants to get better?
Yeah. And it's popped up. Nagowski foul territory with the catch, out number 2. And the Cardinals 1 out away from their 4th win this spring. David Banuelos is the batter. And a reminder, our next telecast will come your way tomorrow at noon against the Houston Astros. And a fly ball lifted out to left field. This should do it. And a 1-2-3 ninth inning for John Brebbia. And the ball game comes to a close in a 6-1 St. Louis win.
Really a complete victory for the Cardinals today. They have a couple of guys they're going to have to tend to as far as injuries are concerned. We'll have to see if those are serious or not. But offensively, 12 hits here today, 6 runs, and the pitching was outstanding.
6-1 the final. Back to wrap it up in a moment.